Good evening. My name is Trish Madsen, and on behalf of my co-chair, Kelly Wright, the Starr Symposium Committee, the UMKC Women's Center, and Women's Council, I welcome you to the 2010 UMKC Starr Community Conversation, Work and Life, and Intergenerational Conversation. The Starr Symposium is named for local philanthropist and noted women's advocate Martha Jane Starr. The idea for the symposium took shape in 1992 when it was decided that a forum was needed to address women's issues and family concerns. Organizers, led by Ms. Starr, agreed to bring nationally known experts in women's issues to work with community leaders and examine ways to eliminate barriers that face women. This symposium is funded by the Starr Education Committee and is a collaboration of the Women's Center and the Women's Council. At this time, I would like for the Starr Education Committee members to stand and please be recognized. Kelly and I would also like to acknowledge Brenda Bethman and Amy Loafman for all their hard work in making this evening possible. If they would stand, please. Brenda Bethman asked me to let you know that if you would like to tweet or catch up on any tweets later, I love saying that word, you can use hashtag Starr2010. The Starr Symposium this year has a new format for 2010-2011. Instead of a single event, we will host a series of community conversations on the topic of work-life balance in a women's nation. Drawing on recent research by Maria Shriver and the American Center for Progress, the kickoff and 4 follow-up conversations will focus on a variety of topics around work-life balance. Please note the upcoming dates in your programs. We hope you will join us for these inspiring evenings. Also, please note that this evening's panel will be followed immediately by a question and answer session. You may write your questions on the note cards in your booklets and pass them to the end of the aisle, and we will kind of quietly pick those up throughout the discussion. Copies of the panelists' books will be available for purchase after the discussion, so please join us for a post-session book signing. It is now my pleasure to introduce Kurt Crispino, who will provide the UMKC welcome. Kurt Crispino is beginning his 22nd year at the university. Kurt has served as in the advancement division in a variety of roles over the years. In each of his positions, from Director of Alumni and Development for the School of Pharmacy to now Vice Chancellor for University Advancement and Senior Vice President of the new UMKC Foundation, he has provided strategic perspective and cultivated key relationships with alumni and friends who have enriched UMKC. Please help me welcome Kurt Crispino.
Thank you, Trish. It is indeed an honor for me to be here this evening. This is the part of my job, and I think any of our staff would say it, that is just ideal about what we do. We get to work with people on behalf of the institution. We work with our donors, we work with our alumni, and we work with the civic and business community to sustain the great work that this institution does on behalf of this city and this region. And this symposium is a great example of how all of those things meld together. I'm also pleased to be here this evening bringing greetings on behalf of our Chancellor, who unfortunately could not be here this evening. This is the beginning of homecoming week at UMKC, and I and my team have him programmed morning, noon, and night. So I was happy to fill in for this event. It's something that has been near and dear to my heart since I started at UMKC all those many years ago. As Trish mentioned, the Starr has a unique role in the fabric of UMKC and this community. And as she also shared, it is named for a formidable civic leader, Mrs. Martha Jane Starr. Mrs. Starr, more than anyone else in our community, understood the opportunity and the obligation that a university has to be a convener of people and ideas. And through her generosity, the Starr Endowment has provided an annual forum for the community to come together and to discuss issues facing women and families. We are grateful for that legacy and for the gift that she so generously gave us all those many years ago. And we are particularly appreciative of the volunteers who continue her legacy in planning this annual event. I would like to thank Trish and her team, as well as Kelly and the rest of the folks who were on the planning committee. But I would also like to acknowledge the great work that is done on behalf of the annual Starr Symposium group by the Starr Education Committee, led by Mrs. Mary Kay McPhee, who I think is also in the audience. So thank you, Mary Kay, and thank you, members of the Starr Education Committee, for making all of this possible. So on behalf of the university, and certainly our chancellor, the boards of the Women's Center and the Women's Council, thank you all for your participation tonight. Trish and Kelly, thank you again for your great, great leadership. Enjoy.
Pleased to introduce our panelists this evening. Gloria Felt is the author, commentator, and speaker. Her newest book, No Excuses, 9 Ways Women Can Change How We Think About Power, explores why women have had an ambivalent relationship with power and offers practical tools to redefine and embrace the power to lead unlimited lives. An expert in women's rights, she was a teen mom whose passion for reproductive rights led her to a 30-year career with Planned Parenthood Federation of America, culminating as its national president and CEO from 1996 to 2005. Courtney E. Martin is a writer, a teacher, a speaker, living in Brooklyn. This fall, Beacon Press will publish her next book, Do It Anyway, The New Generation of Activists, in which Courtney profiles 8 people under 35 trying to make change. In April 2010, Seal Press published her first anthology, co-edited with J. Courtney Sullivan, entitled Click, When We Knew We Were Feminists. She's also a widely read freelance journalist and editor at feministing.com. Dr. Deborah Siegel is an expert on gender politics and unfinished business of feminism across generations. She's the author of Sisterhood Interrupted, From Radical Women to Girls Gone Wild, co-editor of the literary anthology Only Child, Writers on the Singular Joys and Solitary Sorrows of Growing Up Solo, founder of the blog Girl with Pen, co-founder of the web journal The Scholar and Feminist Online, and co-creator of the online community for women, SheWrites.com. Dr. Crystal Brent Zook was born in Los Angeles and raised in an all-female household by her mother and grandmother, who are African American. Her father is Anglo-American, and her work as a journalist and cultural reporter began in the mid-1990s. She writes regularly about film, TV, and books for the Washington Post, Essence, and New York Times Magazine. She is the author of Black Women's Lives, Stories of Power and Pain, which contains investigative portraits of women across the country of various ages and economic backgrounds. Her most recent book is I See Black People, The Rise and Fall of African American-owned television and radio. Dr. Zook is an associate professor of journalism and director of the graduate MA program in journalism at Hofstra University. These 4 women make up an intergenerational panel currently touring various locations nationwide, speaking on the topic of the feminist movement. Please help me welcome women, girls, ladies.
Thank you all. Thank you for coming tonight. We are so thrilled, we women, girls, ladies, to be back here at UMKC. And we are just delighted to have a chance to talk about the topic that you've given us, which is work-life balance. And I have to say that as a Texas girl, I do understand that football takes precedence over everything else. And so I get the whole homecoming thing. It's just the way life is, speaking of work-life balance. So we have been engaged in this intergenerational conversation now for about 3 years. And during that time, our young'un, Courtney, has turned 30. Deborah has had 2 incredibly gorgeous twin babies. And Crystal and I just keep getting better. We're intrigued with the topic of work-life balance. What is it? Does it exist? Why is it important? And how do the generations look at this topic differently? True confessions, it seems to always be Courtney who has it all together more than all the rest of us. She always is on top of things. And so she actually developed 3 questions for us to address tonight. And if we can move yeah, thank you. These are the 3 questions that we're going to discuss individually, and then we want to engage you in conversation about the topic. So, when have you felt powerful at work or at home? When have you benefited from shared power at work or at home? And to what extent do you feel you have the power to create work-life balance for yourself? So that we start, this will be my symbol for moving forward. I don't quite know. Okay, all right. Oh, sorry, we missed one. Keep going. Oh, okay, this is good. So that we start from the same context, I wanted to take a quick look as just giving an overview of where women are today. Everybody seems to know that this is women's moment. We've had Nicholas Kristof's and Cheryl Dewan's blockbuster book, Half the Sky, that says that the moral imperative of the 21st century is the empowerment of women. How many of you have read this book? Almost, yes, it seems to have gotten a great deal of play. Marketers know that women are where their bread is buttered, and they market to us. But the fact is, we can, okay. This is Catherine Bigelow, the first woman director to win an Oscar. And when I saw this picture of her, when I saw her on the screen with this sort of look on her face of, it was almost like she's holding these 2 Oscars and not exactly knowing what to do with it. I just had this feeling that this is where women are. So I want to just throw out a few numbers for you and give you a quick overview of where women are in the culture right now. So what do these numbers mean to you? Anybody got a thought? So 51% of the population, that's women. We're 54% of the voters and 17% of Congress. Next one. Does that look familiar? We're here in a university, it should. Women earn 60% of the college degrees. We're just this year 50% of the workplace, 18% of the top leadership positions in organizations. Next one. 85-15. Remember what I said about the marketers? Women buy 85% of the consumer goods, but we make up 15% of the boards of directors of the companies that decide what they're going to sell us. What is wrong with this picture? The next one. Bet you know this one. 78 cents to the, absolutely. Women earn 78 cents to men's dollar. Next one. This one is a little esoteric, so I'll just give you it right away. Women hold 3% of the top clout influential positions in media companies. Therefore, it's not much of a wonder that women represent only 16% of the talking heads who pontificate on the political talk shows every Sunday morning. Next one. And this is the one I really want you to pay attention to. 15 and 15. Any guesses? So women are often really complaining a lot about the fact that only 15% of the op-eds on the op-ed pages are written by women. But guess what? Women submit 15% of the op-eds to op-ed pages. So you can't get published if you don't submit. You can't win for office if you don't run. You can't be in the C-suite if you don't make an application for the position. And so the revolution is clearly unfinished. Betty Friedan said in the 1960s Mad Men era that women had a problem that had no name. The advances that we have made since then have created many opportunities for women, and women have achieved so much. And that has created a new set of problems. So today we have a problem that does have a name. We call it work-life balance, loud and clear. and Courtney is going to start.